14th. We'll go ahead and call roll.
Okay. Hal Hopi. Pete Ingold.
Here.
Beth Cutter Sanchez. Tony Murphy.
Here.
Lauren Noby.
Here.
Will Trowbridge.
Present.
Andrea Yoakum.
Here.
All right.
Quorum?
We have a quorum, so we're going to go ahead and move on to approval of the minutes. Hopefully, everybody had a chance to look over those, and if you have any errors, omissions, corrections, please let us know. If that looks fine to everybody, I'd take a motion to approve those, please.
I second that.
All right. Pete made the motion to approve, and Lauren seconded.
Ingold.
Yes.
Murphy.
Yes.
Noby.
Yes.
Trowbridge.
Yes.
Yoakum.
Yes.
All right, we're going to move on to item 4 on the agenda, public input. We're going to see if any of the public attendees have anything to address the commission about any items that are not on the agenda. Any takers? It looks like a no. All right, then we will move on to number 5, public hearings. We're going to call item 5A, the annexation agreement, and R3 one-family dwelling district zoning of a 54.06 acre tract of land in unincorporated St. Clair County for the proposed Bluff Ridge Estates subdivision. I'm going to ask if any member has any ex parte communications they need to report.
No.
That looks like a negative. And we'll move on to Scott presenting the staff report, please.
Okay. So this is an item, we're going to be considering the annexation, a requested zoning and annexation agreement for a proposed subdivision in the northeast portion of town in unincorporated St. Clair County. The applicant is Wild Oak LLC, represented here today by Mr. Junior Frenzel, CEO, and it looks like Tom Reed is here also with Wild Oak.
How are we doing that?
Just in time, Tom. The property, since it is undeveloped, has not been addressed, but just for reference, it's located immediately east of Brellinger subdivision. If you go to the end of Ruck Parkway and just look straight, that's where it is. I did provide printed copies of an updated staff report that it does include photos. I was able to get out there when I was preparing the staff report. It was pretty rainy and not good days to take photos, so I had to send you the report absent photos. So I went ahead and took some, so if you didn't get the opportunity to go out there and take a look at the property yourself, you do have some frame of reference with the photos. It is not currently zoned by the city. However, the portion that's being annexed is zoned for agricultural by St. Clair County. And there are three parcels, rather, that are part of the overall development that are not part of the annexation request because they are already located within the city. And those 3 parcels are currently zoned R3. Current land use, it's all used for agriculture or portions undeveloped. As you can see from the photos looking out there, there's some weed out there in the fields right now, it looked like. So it's actively being farmed, at least portions of the property. The proposed zoning over the whole thing is R3, one-family dwelling district. That would make it consistent across all 5 parcels. The applicant is proposing to develop a single-family residential subdivision. And the property is served by municipal water and sewer. As I mentioned, the next thing in the staff report are property photos. You can really get, although the photos don't really do it justice because you're not looking up the hill, you're kind of looking across over the creek at the hill, so you can't really see, the photos don't really demonstrate how truly steep the grades on those hills are. But it's pretty steep terrain in the back portion of the property, the farthest east, that is yet to be annexed, that is the subject of this annexation. And there are various other photos there for your reference regarding areas or points of interest related to the staff analysis. So the proposal is for a 116 lot residential subdivision. That's would cover all 5 parcels. As I mentioned, the 3 parcels that are currently in the city limits are zoned R3 already. The other 2 are zoned A in St. Clair County. And essentially, he's asking to basically get them all zoned R3, so there's a contiguous zoning to do a subdivision that covers all 5 lots. And the annexation agreement does have clauses that do apply to the unannexed, the portion that's already in city limits, so that the development is compatible throughout and has the same, basically, so it can be a comprehensive design over the whole thing and not be separately designed with separate standards. None of the lots have previously been subdivided. In terms of existing conditions, as I mentioned, they are currently undeveloped and farmed. Properties to the north and south are primarily a mix of large lot, single-family residential uses, and farmsteads, and several which are engaged in agricultural uses as well. They do, the adjacent properties in St. Clair County do share the agricultural industrial zoning. Also adjacent but to the south is Briar Lakes Estate subdivision, which is zoned R2, and then Brellinger, which is the west boundary, is also zoned R2. But the property to the east of the 2 parcels being annexed is actually the Columbia Quarry. That's also zoned A, agricultural. However, it's fair to say that quarry use is significantly more intensive use than agricultural production. And then, of course, in the near vicinity to the north and west is the Columbia Golf Club. As I mentioned, the topography is fairly steep, and there's more than 170 feet of difference in elevation between the highest and lowest points on the property. So it's pretty significant. So because of the significant steepness of the grades, streets will need to be constructed at up to a 12% grade. And this, and that is covered by the annexation agreement. 12% is the maximum allowed grade for local streets per city standards. And while the maximum grade for collector streets is 8%. However, due to the topography and they are requesting 12% maximum on the whole, regardless of the street functional classification. And just to give you an idea of the steepness that we're looking at, that 12% grade is roughly equivalent to, say, going up Cherry Street toward the water tower. That'll give you an idea of what it's like. That's actually just slightly steeper, but that's the closest one I could come up with a comparison for.
Not Briar Lakes.
Pardon?
Not Briar Lakes.
I didn't look it up specifically. That's just one everybody knows and drives quite frequently. So I just looked that one up. I think that one's actually at 13% on Cherry Street. So 1% grade, you wouldn't know the difference driving up it though. In terms of public notice and feedback, public notice for all three actions was published in the Republic Times on May 26th. That was 19 days prior to the scheduled public hearing, which satisfies the statutory requirements. And on May 23rd, we also mailed by certified mail notification letters to the trustees of Columbia Fire Protection District, Doherty Public Library District, which is actually in Dupo, but the two properties being annexed are actually within that library district. And then Sugarloaf Township, which is also, which covers all the properties. We've received no inquiries, comments, or objections on the proposed items. Although I will say this, after I wrote this, Justin did say that one of the neighbors had come in just to ask about it. So there were no indications one way or the other of support or not support. In terms of land use impacts, really, this is exactly what the comprehensive plan indicates is suitable usage for this area. A continuation of some of our larger lot, less dense residential zoning districts where appropriate and where the topography and the geography allows for it. And given the R3 zoning, while it is R3, most of the, or quite a few of the lots are actually larger. I looked at the plat just to get an idea of what we're looking at there. So in R3, the minimum lot size is 16,000 square feet, but the smallest proposed lot is right at 20,000 square feet. And in 54 of the 116 lots are actually exceed the 25,000 square foot minimum lot size for the R2 district. So these are pretty generously sized lots they're proposing. The applicant has indicated that the intent to exceed what the residential masonry regulations allow. They see most all the homes having some masonry or brick in their mind, and they'll address the what the subdivision's requirements are going to be through restrictive covenants. Although we will have to have some idea of the of what assignment they're giving one when we do the plat. So that's one of the things that'll be upcoming. So excluding the existing subdivisions in the quarry, the rest of the property is lower density development and lesser intensity. However, the subdivision, or the quarry and the existing subdivisions are at least as intense, and the quarry obviously being a much intenser use. And as I said, this development is consistent with the comprehensive plan's eastward pattern of residential development. So it's unlikely that this development would result in any negative, in more than minimal land use impacts. In terms of transportation and utility impacts, the main transportation impacts would be going to be seen on Ruck Road and Ruck Parkway between Columbia Quarry Road and the subject property. Ruck Road is a collector street that serves primarily residential development between Main Street and the subject property. It's unpaved north of the subject property, and it is, Ruck Road is oil and chip through the section that bounds the property. And then Ruck Parkway obviously is fully concrete through Brellinger, and I think, if I recall correctly, all the way to the intersection with Columbia Quarry Road. Based on the average trip generation of 10 trips per day per home, at full build-out, the proposed development will add about 1,160 trips per day to this segment. IDOT's online traffic volume map shows the average daily traffic to be about 1,580 vehicles per day, and that's just west or excuse me, let me get my orientation right. Would that be there? That would be just north, sorry, of the Quarry Road intersection. So that's before, what am I trying to say there? That's basically mostly in account for the traffic that's generated through Brellinger and Briar Lakes, because other than those two, there's not a whole lot of through traffic and not a whole lot of places to go once you get beyond where the proposed development is. So while that sounds, and it is a fairly significant increase, it's still well within the roadway's design capacity and about the same as existing Rook Road traffic near Main Street. So it's, in fact, it's less than what that volume is, which is 2,800 per day. So the other thing to consider too is that in the AM and PM, a lot of the traffic is going to come in through Quarry Road and out through Quarry Road too. So it's not all going to go through Ruck Road all the way to Maine, because a lot of people are going to be headed out in the morning to go to work. And we know what the typical travel pattern is for most commuters are in the morning. Like I said, and don't forget too that Quarry Road is in the process of being upgraded. I think they were due to just be finishing up either Friday or early today. The current batch, I haven't driven by there and hadn't heard an update to know if they finished it, but, and then they'll be starting next year and finishing up the new roundabout. So those improvements are going to be completed by the time the subdivision starts, basically before anybody starts occupying the homes. So they'll be in place to handle any additional traffic concerns. Needless to say, though, as I said, even without those, the traffic is well within the design capacity, and the city engineer didn't see any concerns as far as that goes. In terms of public utilities, there's an 8-inch sanitary sewer and a 12-inch water main accessible to the property. And the site's well-served, and there are no issues with capacity that would inhibit their use. Per the city engineer, those mains have ample capacity to serve the site. And there should be no discernible impact on public water or sanitary sewer capacity. However, like I said, there will be moderate but manageable traffic impacts. So, based on the analysis and the findings, and by the way, these findings apply to all three actions you'll be considering: the annexation, the zoning, and the annexation agreement. So the findings are: the proposed development and the requested R3 zoning is compatible with adjacent land uses, zoning, and overall land development pattern in the immediate vicinity. The current zoning does likely contribute to diminishing the subject property's value. Approving the requested annexation and zoning will benefit the property owner with minor but manageable impacts to the overall health, safety, and welfare of the community. Approving the requested annexation and zoning will alleviate a hardship to the property owner while providing net benefits to the public. Because the surrounding properties had similar pre-development conditions, the subject property is suitable for the requested zoning and consistent with the overall development pattern. Current agricultural zoning, that is, of the unincorporated parcels, has obviously hampered the site's development potential because it has yet to be developed. The proposed annexation and zoning are consistent with the community's land use plan and vision. And finally, the proposed development will help fill a community need for new housing. Based on the analysis and findings, staff does recommend approval as submitted. And as I mentioned earlier, those findings and recommendation are applicable to all three actions. And I will go ahead really quickly and just cover some of the high points of the annexation agreement. Primarily, it covers the request for R3 one-family dwelling district zoning. Where the developer would be required to develop the property substantially consistent with the concept plan that is attached. And there are a few variations that the city would be agreeing to with this. Primarily subdivision variances. And that is, first off, that streets shall be allowed to be constructed at grades not to exceed 12% slope, provided all streets are designed and constructed in general compliance with Exhibit D. We're not considering any of the streets collector streets. There's a reason for this. And maybe I'll refer you back to the vicinity map on the front. As you'll notice, Rook Road is, as I mentioned, is a collector street. Has always been envisioned and planned to go north and not extend east, where we would typically, since Ruck Parkway, rounds the curve and then turns east, Ruck Road actually continues north. So Ruck Road would be the continued collector. And really, a collector could not extend through this development at the current time because the neighboring parcel, as I mentioned, is the quarry. And unless Mr. Beelman decides to change his plans, that's not likely. We're not likely to be able to punch the collector street on through further. So while that is the case, and we're not requiring any, and none of them streets will be designated a collector, we did, however, ask the developer who complied. If you look at the concept plan, there's a piece of there's one common area, common ground lot that is up at the far extent of the subdivision, just south of the cul-de-sac that's shown there. And we did ask them to reserve that for access in case at some point a street would be able to punch through there and connect to adjacent development. The only other two variances being requested are cul-de-sac street in excess of the 500-foot maximum cul-de-sac length. As I mentioned, due to the topography, there's not a lot you can do with shorter cul-de-sacs like courts and things like that, given the topography. So it does make more sense to allow the longer cul-de-sac streets in order to facilitate the needs of the development. And the other thing, once again, primarily due to the topography, is to allow blocks in length of in excess of the 1,300-foot maximum block length. Once again, that's, for reasons such as topography, that's the reason why there are variance allowances in codes. Staff feels that these are justifiable variances under the conditions of the topography. The one thing that, there's no code requirement. The one thing that was addressed is the fact that there's typically, when you see a development of this size, you would normally see multiple entrances and exits, or points of access into the subdivision, maybe a better way to frame that. However, due to the way that the front, I'll just refer you to the concept plan once again. If you take a look at the concept plan and look at the lots that are fronting Rook Road, that whole south area is really needs to be preserved for the proper drainage function for the subdivision. So there's really not a good place to put another another entrance in that wouldn't have the potential of significantly hampering the drainage function of that 100-year floodplain area that's in that common area. And that's also going to serve as detention for a portion of this subdivision as well. So in light of that, though, staff did request that emergency access be noted on the concept plan. And in fact, they already do have easement over Hoffman Lane in the areas that are shown, or Hoffman Estates Drive, I believe is the actual name of it. It's shown in crosshatching on the development plan. So they do have emergency access if there were ever a reason, saying, I don't know, a crash at that intersection with Ruck Road and Ruck Parkway that would block traffic for an extended period of time. Police would be able to reroute traffic on an emergency basis through the route indicated there just for temporary traffic. And we feel that that would be a suitable way to address the fact that you can't, it would be extremely difficult to do a second permanent entrance on for the development. I think that covers the high points, but I'd be happy to answer any questions you have about the staff report or the recommendations.
I have a couple. Lauren, you want to go? Yeah, I think you do too, don't you? We'll alternate. Sorry. Just a couple quick ones. I don't have it handy. What is the setback in R3 side?
For the side setback?
Yeah. And while you're answering that, are all the streets going to have sidewalks?
Internal streets will. They're-
Yeah, internal, so the neighborhood will have sidewalks throughout all the lots? Both sides, yeah. Okay. Just curious. And one other question. At the end of, I guess if you're looking at the plan, the bottom, the one street ends just in a dead end?
Yes.
Is there, just not knowing this kind of development, what's the plan for turnaround, delivery vehicles, things like that, getting around back there? Is that just, will they have?
That's for the emergency exit.
That's the emergency exit.
No, I understand that. I'm just wondering what, for the people that, in case of not an emergency, how does, okay, so a mover gets back there with a 53-foot trailer. How's he getting out?
So typically what we've done in the past is just to put those, Scott, I think you mentioned this before, kind of Mickey Mouse ears or whatever, but we would
Yeah.
make it look a little bit more permanent than that. But
Okay.
Give you the option to.
So there will be, it's just not going to be a normal street that just dead ends?
Correct.
Okay. And then, did you have those side setbacks, Scott?
Yeah, it's 15 feet.
Oh, is that it? I thought it was more than that. Okay. That answers my question. Thank you.
I thought it was, I just wanted to verify.
Nice big lot size.
Yeah, it didn't look, there was just a couple of the ones that, I was looking at them like, I thought it was more than 15, but it wasn't even going to be a problem then. I was more curious than anything.
Yeah, it's for R2, it's 20 feet, so.
Okay, but R3, it's 15?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I just have a couple like general questions, not necessarily pertain to this exact subdivision, but kind of all future subdivisions. So I love that we're growing. I think it's amazing. But is there, and I know we're working with a developer, but I'm a little nervous about our schools with this many subdivisions coming in. Is there like a plan? Or, I don't know. I'm more curious than anything with our school population and all these new bodies coming in. Is that going to be a concern in terms of size, population, anything like that, or no?
No.
No? Okay.
Shouldn't be. City administrator and I met with the new superintendent, Grody.
Right.
Not that long ago, and he didn't indicate any issues with our, and we specifically shared the proposed annexations with him at that time, and he didn't
Okay.
indicate any concerns
Okay, cool. I just want to make sure, because like, it just feels like so many
And
subdivisions are
even if
coming
it were
in.
concerned, we are bound to approve anything that meets code.
Okay, awesome. Okay, great to hear. And the second question you kind of already answered, just making sure the roundabout is going to come around the same time as this, because I know with ICS up there and the church, there's always traffic issues. So that roundabout will happen before this even starts? Or about the same time?
Yeah, it'll be completed in all likelihood while it's under development still, probably before any homes are even constructed in all likelihood.
Okay, great. And then my last question, I noticed Quarry Road looks great, by the way, and the bike path on the side is huge, which is great. How is this gonna work with the Gadern bike path? I haven't heard any update on like what's been going on with that. Like, I know that is a very high-traffic bike area, and I realize the new addition. So is that to divert public bike and hikers and walkers and stuff onto the new section and stop using the one that connects to the subdivision? Do you know what I'm talking about?
So we're not even talking about this right now?
No, we are, because we're gonna have all these new people in
I'm
this.
trying to figure.
Get my
out
logic?
Where you're,
Oh, so we have all these new people coming into the subdivision, and hopefully everyone's gonna be very active and walking around town and using our bike paths that are slowly but surely coming in. We have that amazing bike path on Rook Road already. But I was under the impression the Gadern part where the bike path runs through the two subdivisions, that is considered private property now, that it cannot be used by the public.
there is a portion that is owned by the homeowners association. To my knowledge, they haven't restricted public use yet.
Okay, because I know there's a sign there that says no further trespassing past this point. And I just want to make sure that's
Then maybe
respect.
that's changed since the last time I've seen it.
Okay,
It just used to say private property, I think, but.
yeah, it was, I don't know if they took it, the one I saw was like beyond this point, or, I mean, it's, yeah, it just says public, or private property. So I didn't know if, like I said, I know the new trail's up, and I love seeing that. I just want to make sure that the Gadern private part is actually going to be separated, I guess. I don't want to cause problems.
I'm not in communication with the Gadern HOA. I have no clue what they plan on doing with it.
All right, just curious.
All right, anyone else have any questions for Scott?
Yes, I do have a quick one. For lots 97 and 98, where we discussed it, that would be the emergency exit route. Is that into a driveway? Their driveway, or that becomes a road, and does that require expansion of that road?
No, it's
No
emergency
changes.
only. It would not require any changes to the existing pavement surface, which is gravel.
Okay.
And that existing road is Hoffman Estates Drive, right?
Correct.
Okay. So that would come, okay, I'm looking at that too, just to sort of see. Oh, okay, so that's that house. Okay.
Anyone else for Scott? If not, I'm going to invite the applicant to step up and present anything they think we may have missed or wanted to say.
I really don't have anything. I mean, it's pretty much
Okay.
laid out the way we want it.
Can you talk in the microphone?
Scott done a great job of working with us on it.
All right, well, I will open it to public hearing and ask for public comment right now. Anyone? If you could come up, sir. I need to swear, there's a podium right there. Need to swear you in. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I sure do.
All right, go ahead. If you'd present your name and,
Jack Whalen, and I live on the Huffman Estates Drive. And I was wondering if they're gonna use that for emergency use, are they gonna do anything to upgrade the bridge?
No?
Nothing.
They already have an access easement over that to.
Yeah, I know.
To use it, yeah.
I'm wondering how they got that too. Didn't you have to have a 50-foot easement to the county road to get an easement? I mean, you had to have so many feet to access to the county road to get an easement. Is that right? I was always under the impression there was a certain amount of feet you had to have to get an easement.
I don't know of any county requirement.
Oh, okay. That's
No,
just, I ain't been involved in this stuff and it's the first time. And that's what I heard, so I don't know.
Yeah, maybe I'm just not understanding your question correctly.
Well, all three properties met there at one point, and there was no 50-foot right-of-way to a county road for an easement. But there's an easement there now. I don't know if there has to be a certain amount of feet right-of-way.
I don't know. I mean, there may be some different regulations or requirements between St. Clair County and Monroe County. I don't know.
Well, I'm just asking. I don't know
Yeah.
either.
No, I mean, this exists and it's legal.
Yeah.
So I just assumed it met the requirements it needed. I've
I
seen
didn't
the
know if it would.
documents and,
I didn't know if there was or not.
no.
And
This would, once again, that's gonna be only if there would be any reason why people could not enter and exit the subdivision at the entrance.
Yep.
That would be the only time that would be used. And I suspect, in fact, that the fire department or somebody might request there to be some sort of removable bollard or something that they might be able to take out of the way, or a cable or something. I can't comment to specifically what they might ask for. We're not that far along in the design as of yet. We haven't addressed those issues. We're still talking big picture. So that'll come up in the next phase when we start talking about the approving the actual subdivision plat and the improvement plans.
how are the utilities going up to the subdivision?
Yeah, they should be going straight up where Rick Road is right now. They'll be dumping right into the corner there primarily.
Well, that's where they're at now, is right down there in the corner.
Yeah, and they would just run a main up
North,
to serve the property, correct.
up to the property? Mm-hmm. Across the creek
mean-
right there?
It's just up the Rick Road right away.
Yeah.
There's a tap in there,
Let me get my mind,
water in the sewer in that corner.
yeah, I gotta find out where I'm at here. There we go.
Would you guys be looking to possibly tap into it at some point?
Right.
Questions that?
So you're gonna be going up this way?
Well,
Here, you take
I'll
that.
I'll say this, I know where you're talking about, and I don't wanna speak to the design, because the engineers haven't officially designed it, and that's why we're here tonight, is to get the preliminary approval, then we can flip it over to the engineers and get down to the dirty part of it, which is what Scott's saying. If you're certainly interested in trying to get a tap-in place off to the side, so if you guys want
Are you
future
over there?
expansion,
In that, one of those three parcels?
yeah,
Yeah, I'm right here in this little corner. I gotta find myself again right
look
here.
at this one right here, this one.
Okay. So here's the entrance. Right here. That's where you're coming in. So you're over in here, right? Over in here.
Yeah, this is me right.
There's the power lines right here, the power lines are going.
Yeah,
over right
okay,
here.
yeah, this is me right here, here's where the
Emergency access is.
Yeah,
where the sewer and water is.
so we can certainly work with you, once the engineer's designing this, if they're gonna come across the creek, and if you guys would like us to put a tap in for you right there, we'd be
Yeah, see right there, this should be.
most of your questions
Yep.
there? Okay, all right.
Yep.
Is there anyone else for public commentary, questions? Does not appear to be, so I will go ahead and close the public hearing side. And now the commission will discuss if you have any further questions for the applicant or Scott. Anyone?
I'll just point out that I did put sample motions for each action, so that you make sure the wording is correct when you make a motion, no matter which way you go.
Okay, if there's no further questions, does anyone want to make a motion? We'll start with the annexation. Any takers on that?
I'll go. Oh. Somebody?
Go ahead.
Me?
Go ahead, you jump on
You
it.
get the next one, okay? I move that the Plan Commission adopt the findings stated in the staff report and recommend that the requested annexation be approved.
And I'll second that.
Motion and second. Any further discussion?
We're not going to vote on that one. We're gonna-
Yeah, we'll vote on it, but you say we have a motion and a second. Is
Oh,
there any
yes.
further discussion?
We got a motion and a second. Any further discussion on that, or otherwise we'll move into a vote?
Okay, I'll call the roll. Ingold,
Yes.
Murphy,
Yes.
Noby,
Yes.
Trowbridge,
Yes.
Yocum.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, now we will move on to the proposed R3 one-family dwelling district zoning. If anyone would like to make a motion there?
Don't make me do it.
Okay. I move that the Plan Commission adopt the findings stated in the staff report and recommend that the preliminary plot be approved, subject to the, well, I don't have any,
You're somewhere else.
sorry. Where's the,
It's this one.
Second.
oh, the second one, okay, sorry. I move the Plan Commission adopt the findings stated in the staff report and recommend that the requested R3 one-family dwelling district zoning be approved.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion, or we will take a roll vote?
Ingold,
Yes.
Murphy,
Yes.
Noby,
Yes.
Trowbridge,
Yes.
Yocum.
Yes.
All right, we'll move on to the last one, the annexation agreement. If anybody would be willing to make a motion on that? Not everybody at once.
I move that the Plan Commission adopt the findings stated in the staff report and recommend that the requested annexation agreement be approved.
I'll second.
All right, once again, we have a motion and a second, and if there's no further discussion, we will move to a vote.
Ingold,
Yes.
Murphy,
Yes.
Noby,
Yes.
Trowbridge,
Yes.
Yocum.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, thank you, everybody. We will now move on to unfinished business.
Close the hearing.
Oh, I already, sorry. We're going to close the hearing on
Make it official.
that, and we will now move on to unfinished business, item 6 on the agenda. And that is reconsideration of the preliminary subdivision plat for the proposed Ogle Estates subdivision, originally recommended for approval by the Plan Commission on December 14, 2020. And I'd ask if anybody would like to report ex parte communications? No takers, and Scott will now present the staff report, please.
Okay. You may recall the Plan Commission considered this originally back on December 10th. As you may recall, we actually brought this to Plan Commission. I'll restate that. At the time it was submitted, we had scheduled it for Plan Commission, and then we had our own little COVID situation here at City Hall, and we had to shut the doors and go home for a while, so we weren't able to coordinate with the applicant to the degree we would normally do prior to bringing it to Plan Commission. So we went ahead on the schedule with the, as you'll recall, was recommended approval subject to the applicant addressing the staff review comments in writing and submitting a
Bless you.
revised preliminary plat drawing, and then also coordinated with the city engineer to ensure the adequate provision of utilities and infrastructure prior to submittal of improvement plans. Since that time, staff has continued to coordinate with the applicant, and we're finally to what we believe is a representative of hopefully the final plat, and it's the 5th revision. And because there are, the subdivision code does require that if any substantial modifications are made to an approved preliminary plat, a new one must be submitted for consideration. So since you did recommend approval, we did require the applicant to have Plan Commission consider once again. So after we've reviewed it, there were, I can make the following analysis and findings. Notice letters were sent to the owners of 9 adjoining properties prior to the original consideration. Staff did receive 1 comment via email at that time, which is attached. That was the same one that was attached then. The applicant has satisfactorily addressed all but 1 review comment to date, and that one is in progress, is my understanding. And that was, we requested a lake maintenance agreement between the applicant and the adjacent property owner from whom the property was purchased. Since the lake is primarily owned by the adjacent property owner, yet there will be some improvements made to the lake, to the grading around it, the dam, et cetera. And because the lake does serve a vital drainage function for the subdivision as well, we did ask for a maintenance agreement to be entered into between those 2 parties to basically provide the same coverage as if the lake were within the subdivision. The applicant has agreed to that. We have reviewed a draft of the lake maintenance agreement, which was approved as to form by the city attorney, and who believes that it does sufficiently cover the city and allow us to basically handle the lake much as if it were part of the subdivision itself. The applicant has provided all other requested and required documentation. Based on review, the plat does conform to R5 zoning regulations for lot sizes and yard setbacks. And through the building permit process, will ensure compliance with other standards, regarding that only residential uses can be used, making sure the proper parkage, the lot coverage, setbacks and everything are there as they're constructed. We do find the preliminary plat to comply with the subdivision code. However, I would say that there are still some questions at the staff level regarding the viability of Lot 1 as a residential lot. The plat does comply with the subdivision code, and there have been the proper easements placed on that lot to protect the drainage way and the natural drainage function of that stream. However, yeah, because there are still some remaining concerns about the access, the grading, and the drainage, staff is going to have the improvement plans reviewed by a neutral third-party consulting engineer who will just assess the viability as designed. And upon review of that, based on that review, the city engineer will determine if any changes are needed to address any potential drainage modifications or grading modifications to that lot. If, in the opinion of that engineer, it may not be viable. And just as a word of warning, if there does lead to substantial modifications, that would affect what is actually depicted on the preliminary plat, we'd have to come back and do this again. But that being said, that's the normal course flow of the process, because improvement plans typically do come after the plats are approved. And sometimes, based on, the engineering just doesn't work out the way it was intended when the plat was drawn up. So sometimes changes are needed once it reaches the improvement plan phase. So that part's not necessarily odd. But based on this, staff is recommending that the Plan Commission recommend approval of the preliminary subdivision plat, and under the condition that staff shall not forward the preliminary plat for council consideration until we do receive the executed copy of the lake maintenance agreement that does protect upstream, downstream, and subdivision properties. That is the staff report, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have at this time.
I still have, sorry, behind lots 8, 9, and 10, significant concerns about the drainage. I mean, I know it may meet subdivision code and engineering code, but that little bitty waterway that is very close to that is already a problem with the land coming up, with the water coming off the Ritter property. It's already being washed away, it's already, and I know there's a detention basin, but I've seen this before. That's a lot of water that's gonna rush right into that creek, and it's already a problem. So how is that being addressed?
Well, the detention basin is, once again, that was modified, the placement and the way it's draining. It's being drained into at the request of the city engineer to make sure that everything was, that the drainage concerns were covered, and to make sure that the water does not leave the site at a rate in excess of what it does pre-development conditions. And as I did mention, there are outstanding concerns primarily related to Lot 1, but the overall drainage, and when we do receive the improvement plans, the city engineer is going to send that out for third-party review to review what is being proposed to make sure it will work based on what the hydrological studies from the applicant's consulting engineer has provided. So
And-
it is going to have another review before improvement plans are approved.
And, you know, so you may be able to answer this. So detention basin holds the water. At the bottom of that, I see a 12-inch pipe. Where does, if the detention basin becomes full, where does that water go after that?
Well, it's designed to handle at least a minimum of the 100-year flood. It would, if it did not, well, it's going to be held by the lake first off.
No, I'm talking
And
way down at the
slow down
bottom. I'm
before it
way
gets
below
in.
the lake.
Yeah, I understand. But at the lake, is the first control point that controls it even entering into the basin. So the basin would then be sufficient to handle a 100-year event and not release at any, at a rate any greater than what it is being released at under pre-development
Yeah.
conditions.
I just, okay. I'm not an engineer. I just know what that creek looks like now. And it's not a 100-year flood. It's every spring, summer, and fall that creek just about overtops. And all of these lots back here are on severe grades, so I don't care what happens with the lake, because that's gonna catch all this water. I'm talking about those 3 lots. The water's gonna run right off those lots into that detention basin, through that 12-inch pipe, into mine and my neighbors' houses.
I did mention, when you brought up those concerns, when we discussed this in December, I did, and in fact, I think you'd shown me a video.
Yeah,
And I showed that to the city engineer, and he said that they had done an assessment after that storm event, and the water that's coming through there, he said, does not come through this stream, it's the other stream that connects.
and that's true. I understand. Currently, that is the case. It is coming from the other property. I'm just wondering about the extra water. You know, you're adding fuel to an existing. Yeah, the water up there is currently being handled by the way it's built. So I guess, in theory, if it does not include any additional water that is currently there, it would not contribute to the current issue.
At this time, the city engineer states that the design does appear sufficient at this point to address what the hydrological analysis was provided by the consulting engineer. But he is, like I mentioned, having it reviewed with the improvement plans when the actual details of the design would typically be reviewed to make sure that it will handle everything.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Scott here? Okay, invite John to come up, and if you wanted to say anything, or,
If you have anything additional, happy to answer any questions though.
okay,
Thank you.
yep. Any public commentary on this? Doesn't appear to be. So, any questions for John or Scott before we move on? If there are no further questions, I'd entertain a motion.
I move that the Plan Commission adopt the findings stated in the staff report and recommend that the preliminary plat be approved, subject to the following conditions. That city staff shall not forward the preliminary plot for city council consideration until the applicant provides an executed copy of the lake maintenance agreement.
Does anyone second that?
I'll second that.
Thank you. All right, any other discussion, or we will move into a vote?
Ingold,
Yes.
Murphy,
Yes.
Noby,
Yes.
Trowbridge,
Yes.
Yocum.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on, we'll call item 6B, and that is the feedback on the sign code update. Scott will go ahead and lead us in that.
I actually didn't prepare any thoughts for this. I just wanted to make sure, when we reviewed this, was that in April? I suppose it was. We left it with, Plan Commission would take a look at the details and provide any comments, questions, suggestions at a later date. So that's where we are now. And, I mean, if you're not prepared to provide feedback, that's fine. We can move on, and we can go ahead and move forward with finalizing it into a draft form and start moving it forward through the actual approval process if there are no no feedback.
Yeah, if everybody's had a chance to look at that, and if they don't have anything for Scott, that they say he massively screwed up or something, probably just move along and present it
It looks
as
good.
is.
Well, then there's, yeah, I'll work on moving forward to bring this to a draft for consideration, likely at the next meeting. In the meantime, as I'm working on that, if you do review it and come up with any comments or questions about it, don't hesitate to send me a note or give me a call, and talk to you at that time.
Okay, thanks, Scott. All right, we'll move on to new business. Item 7A, election of Plan Commission officers for fiscal year commencing May 1st, 2021, and ending April 30th, 2022. So, looking for a nomination for chair.
Tony, I might point out, I put some guidance in here, since this will be we're kind of in, I don't know, uncharted waters here, since our only officer left is Tony. And so I wanted to just kind of give you a little bit of outline on process. You can present a nomination for a slate of officers instead of doing it just individually, if you'd like. And do keep in mind that we have a couple of
Absentees.
commission members who are absent. Don't forget that Hal is not here and Beth is not here. And I hate to suggest to you that you nominate any of our
Hey,
absent.
Beth, guess what? You win.
However, I don't think either one of them would turn down an opportunity to serve if they would be nominated. Both of them are civic-minded individuals. So I'll let you make the motions at your own discretion. And I will say, ideally, we would have pushed this, but under our code, we have to elect officers at the first meeting after the start of the fiscal year. So here we are.
So once again, not everybody wants, but
Okay. I move that the Plan Commission elect Will Trowbridge to the office of Plan Commission Chairperson for the current fiscal year ending in April 30th, 2022.
Thank you.
Technically, you can't go straight to a motion. We have to have a call for nominations first. You have to
You're
accept the
so-
nominations.
You're so
And then you
fancy.
can,
No, it's all protocol.
all
Robert's
protocol.
Rules of Order.
Robert's rules of orders. Then we have to close nominations. So you can do it individually, or you can talk about a slate of officers.
Well, is it applicable to just ask anybody if they want to serve as anything?
Absolutely.
And that
You
way we can just
nominate
do it as a
yourself
slate?
well. There's no problem with self-nominations if you'd like to do that. Absolutely.
I would be honored to, be chairman. I have no problem with that. I think, honestly, any of us would be good officers but I know some people, you don't want to nominate somebody who doesn't want to do it either. So does anybody else want to do anything or be chairman or secretary or whatever other options we have?
yeah, I think we should nominate a slate, as he was saying, so
Yeah.
if Will is willing to be chair.
I am.
That, I don't, unless anyone has any objections, that would be fine, but we still need a vice and a secretary. Was anybody willing to throw their hat in the ring for either of those positions? Self-nominate themselves? If no one is willing, I will serve as vice. And that leaves secretary.
Which is quite honestly the easiest job, since we have double duty on taking, tracking the votes, and actually Connie does the minutes. So the secretary has the best deal out of all of them. Just throwing it out there.
Yeah, basically, you just call roll and write the motions, so.
Yep.
So,
And you've got plenty of backup.
I will throw my ring in the hat for secretary.
You're ringing the hat?
it's the other way around, but that'll work. Okay, it looks like we have a slate as Will Trowbridge as chairperson, Tony Murphy as vice chairperson, and Lauren Noby as secretary.
Are there any other nominations?
Any other nominations? I'm gonna go with no out of this crowd, but we'll close the nominations now, and we will entertain a motion to approve those as a slate, as I just mentioned.
Can those of us that are on the slate make the motion?
Don't worry, I'll
Yes.
All right. Just wondering.
Thank you, Andrew.
I move that the Plan Commission elect the following slate of Plan Commission officers for the current fiscal year ending in April 30th, 2022. Will Trowbridge as chairperson, Tony Murphy as vice chairperson, and Lauren Noby as secretary.
I second that.
Harumph.
Hal and Beth are just lucky little commissioners.
I'm going to tell Beth that she's chairman.
She'll appreciate that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. No other commentary on that. We're gonna move into a vote.
Ingold,
Yes.
Murphy,
Yes.
Noby,
Yes.
Trowbridge,
Yes.
Yocum.
Yes.
Yes. All right.
And with that, we will let Will take over the meeting.
Oh.
I can just pass this gavel down, or we can play music.
Hey, do I get a gavel? Do I get a robe or a hat or anything? Or the key to the washroom?
Here we are.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, we are at number 8.
All right. We are at committee reports, which, as I understand, are there any, Scott?
There are none because we have no committees at the moment.
Moving on then to item number 9, staff reports and communications. Also, I believe none.
Actually, a couple things did come up that I just wanted to, I need to pass this sheet around to you, and have you put your name and email address on it. We're transitioning our, basically all of our main city operating and financial software. And they're gonna start, gonna start getting, electronic pay advices. And, they will email it to you if you provide your information. And on the note of, pay, if you didn't see my email, I wanted to let you know that it is being proposed, and you're gonna, and to my knowledge, there's no objections. Everybody, has been on board with it.
I think it already passed, didn't it?
Well, it did, but it was vetoed. So that's the reason why our new plan commissioner is not here yet. I don't know the reasons.
Wow, a veto.
Exactly. I believe they're planning on adopting an amended, a new appointment ordinance for passage at the next one. So,
Oh, I got you.
at any rate, the way that works is $75 for officers per month, $60 for regular members per month.
Per month or per meeting?
Per month. And generally, that's going to wind up being a meeting
Yeah.
because you have to attend at least one meeting per month to be eligible for the pay. So, in other words, if there's a regular meeting and a scheduled meeting for that month, if you attend one of those, you're still eligible for the full pay. So,
But the more meetings we have, the less we get paid.
or was it the vice versa? I'm sorry, it's if you miss more than one regular or special meeting in a month. So,
It's fine. It'll all get figured out.
anyway, it's a raise.
Well, we really do it for the money, so that's good to hear.
And you can thank Chairman Garmer for bringing that to, former Chairman Garmer, for bringing
Yeah.
that to my attention. He had struck up a conversation with a couple of plan commissioners at the last training session and found out
I'm gonna miss
were
all my,
underpaid.
my $23.23 paychecks from the zoning board. Yeah,
Plan Commission is one of the, if not the only, one of the only that does get paid, so.
yeah, it used to just be planning, zoning, and architecture were the only three.
Yeah.
And not all cities do it. My dad was on planning for years in Florissant, and they didn't even pay, and that's a huge city.
Yeah. And I might add. I bet. Knocks you into the next tax bracket, right? I forget what I was gonna say.
All right. Well, if that is everything, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
All right, motion is second, and we can just do a voice vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed to adjourning? Meeting is closed.